Hello everybody and welcome back to the restoration project and redesigning and configuring, I suppose you would call it, of a Fokker DR1 which started life, I believe, as a flare baronet which is 50% larger. I've started on the lower wings. I thought they needed the least work to get them up to scratch. And I've done all I want to do to them in terms of adding bits and pieces. The riblets have been added. The blocks are ready to take the wing tip skids. I've prepped the wings. They were fairly well built. There wasn't any major problems with them. And it's time now to cover them. And I'm going to cover them with 100% polyester. There you go. Commonly in the UK known as dress lining. Comes in a variety of colours. On the internet I've seen as many as 45 different shades available. In this case I'm just going with plain white, and it has the advantage that it's fairly close weave, but the biggest advantage of course is that it's shrinkable. Not by a great deal, but by enough to make it a viable covering material. However, it doesn't have any glue on the back of it, so you have to find a way to actually adhere it to the surface. And for that, I use Mod Podge. It's a water-based glue and sealer finish, a bit like a sand and sealer. It has the sort of consistency of a thick PVA glue. The normal practice that I do is I'll coat on here 2 coats, letting them dry in between, give it a light rub down with some fine glass paper, and then I'll actually begin the covering process. So the first thing I'm going to do is get this surface prepped with the Mod Podge. Now you don't have to do the whole airframe, it's one way of saving weight. Really, you only need to do the edges. And as this is a flat bottom wing, there's no need really to cover these ribs. But I'm going to do it anyway because I like the idea of fixing the covering to all of the airframe. I think it adds a great deal more strength to it. So I'll get that on. And we'll probably do that as a little bit of a time lapse, and then we'll go through the covering process of this this wing. It's all prepped, ready to go. Let's get started. It's been a couple of days since I last did any video recording, and what I've actually done is we have 2 coats of Mod Podge has been applied to the surface of the wing. I managed to get out flying today, so that was great fun, and now it's time to get back to a little bit of building. Now this is polyurethane, 100% polyurethane, and a few questions have been asked about this in the past. First is it heavy? Well, it's not the sort of covering I would put on a small plane, but this isn't a small plane. I've used it on a Junkmeister and I've used it on the Falcon, and this is going to be a large model. It's a 1/4 scale model, so it's a large model. Having said that, I think that the actual weight of this material is very favourable to commercial coverings. It comes out at 70 grams a square metre. Now, Oritex, which is one of the few iron-on fabric coverings which are still around, it weighs between 90 and I believe 120 grams per square metre, depending on the colour. Now I know you have to do up this and you have to apply paint, but as the starting weight is about 70 grams, I think that's quite favourable. So let's get sticking this on. I've got an iron and it isn't a digital one, it's nothing fancy. I picked it up at a swap meet. I tend to set it a little higher than I would set if I was using a solar film or some sort of foil, as the Petrinsky brothers call it. Normal procedure is tack the lengthways first, then tack crossways. Well, I'm going to try and make sure that I keep it nice and tight between each rib, because I don't want it to sag and touch the spar when I start applying the dope. So I've cut this to size. I'm going to apply heat through here, and the application of the heat should reactivate the Mod Podge. Helps if you turn it on. Wait a second, folks, look at that. This is how you test if the iron's on. No, it isn't. Just wait a second, we'll turn that on. Well, let's try again. The iron's heated up now, so applying heat. And I can tell that's struck hold. If I pull on it here, you can see I'm just tacking it here, this end. Tacking widthways. I'll pull it taut here. Yeah, pull it taut here and apply a bit of heat. I'm aware that I'm probably blocking what your view, but you get the general idea. Now I think what we'll do is I'll pause it here, and then the rest of the video will be done as a time lapse till we've got all this fixed to the frame. I hope you can see there that this is now nice and taut. I haven't applied any extra heat other than the iron, which, as I mentioned before, I tend to set a little higher than you would normally use on covering material. What I need to do now is trim around the scalloping, and I'm going to feather that in and wrap it round. Now the next stage involves trimming it all neatly, ironing it down, and then what I'm going to do is seal all the edges in full strength non-shrinking dope. That'll give me a nice surface to glue the next layer onto, the next side onto rather. So I'll trim this up, we'll come back and see what it looks like when it's done. There we have, this is the undersides now covered. I've applied another coat of Mod Podge along the edge, front and rear and side there, because as you can see, hope you can see, I've turned over the covering and applied a layer of dope. When the dope dries, the surplus material becomes hard and you can cut it off with a brand new razor blade. So that's the underside covered, but not shrunk yet. It's only been shrunk with the iron, applied with the iron. I'm going to do the top coat. We'll probably do that as a time lapse, and then I'll apply some heat to the whole wing and we'll see what it looks like. That's the wing covered now, this side at least. I've sealed the edges with full strength non-shrinking dope just to seal them, and trimmed off the excess material. I'm now going to apply some heat, and you get shrinkage, I think, of about 10%. Let's see how it goes. One side done. I think you can probably see a few more wrinkles here. Let's see how they come out. I hope it's evident there. You get a nice tight finish. I'll apply one coat of shrinking dope, thinned down for about 50-50, and then another coat of another couple of coats of non-shrinking dope to seal the surface, although it's not bad at all. But there you go. That's a really cheap alternative to the commercial coverings, fabric coverings that are available on a big model of this scale. It gets really expensive, and I don't mind spending money on the hobby, but not on areas I can work around. So there you go, a cheap alternative to commercial coverings, polyester, 100% dress lining. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so, and you'll see the rest of the journey. Thanks for watching, folks.